The load capacity on this garage is a bit of a priority, since it's carrying the weight of a significant amount of the solar panels powering the property.
Whenever you're replacing a piece, always do it at a miter at a 45 degree, and make sure that that miter starts on this side of your board here. And keep it a straight cut, obviously. If you have a spot here that ends up being rotted out, but it's only like a couple of inches, then you can do 2 foot to sister it in. It's just, but as long as you only have a couple of inches that are bad, 2 foot is plenty.
Due to several storms and the roofing being in disrepair, there has been compounding damage over the years. Recent plans have been made to convert the garage into a living space in the near future, requiring that the roof is brought up to code, which requires the solar panels to be removed, which requires a safer workspace for the crew to do what they have to do.
Always use your equipment to your advantage. Sometimes you can use your ladders to hold one side of the piece while you're working the other side. This is for longer pieces, or if you have 2 ladders. But you should be fine with what you have here. And when possible, use your old pieces as a reference. That way you really won't have to worry about measurements. Now, if the old pieces are all tore up and everything, of course, you're going to need to get up there and use your tape measure. But if the pieces are intact, you should be perfectly fine with being able to do it this way. Always put a piece of wood underneath it so you don't cut through if you don't want to. To get this measurement on the inside of the miter, one of the ways that we can do that is we take our measurement, which is 70.5, put the inside of the miter at the 1-inch mark, and then mark your piece at 71.5. And it helps if you have a sharp blade. Now with this piece, this needs to come up to where it's here, and we need to make sure that it's up against that corner there all at the same time. So what we're going to do, we're going to get an 8-foot piece of wood, and we're going to get this to come up a bit. There. If you have somebody to help you, it's just a matter of them pushing the piece up to line up. But if you don't, just stack some wood on the ground if the 2x4 that you have is too short. See where we land. A little high. There we go. All nice and pretty there. I guess it would help if keep that there for now, so that way we can get the rest of this in, and it stays straight. And if this is a repair, all you have to do is eyeball it, and you should be fine. If it's a new build, do all the measurements, do all the math, do all the marking and reference point before you put anything in. And the fact that it didn't drop when I pulled the board out means that we've got a nice, clean, sturdy connection now.
Here's a little chicken tax. Chicken break!
When you make your marks, you're going to want to make an arrow, so that way it's easier to figure out exactly what side of the mark you're actually going for. Because if you have just one hash, it's a little more difficult to figure out. But having the arrow there leaves you no question. We're not going to be replacing any roofing yet, so all we're doing is filling this in from the bottom. If we were doing the roofing, we'd be just ripping the whole board out and starting from scratch. But it only needs to be stable enough to make it for a little bit longer before we redo the roof. And this technique would be used only if your roofing is fine, but some of your underlayment has rotted away. We have one more just like this, and the rest is just getting some 2x6 along the edges.
Keep in mind, these repairs are only temporary until we can do a complete overhaul on the roof, so they're not going to be aesthetically pleasing. However, they are structurally sound to be able to carry the weight capacity for the permanent work to be able to be done. And of course, getting some paint on the new components will protect the lumber from the elements.